hand over to Mr. Tobias Winter, Director of the Indo-German Energy Forum, to moderate our Q&A session. Over to you, Tobias.
Thank you very much, Pooja, and thank you very much, Mr. Fey. Very impressive. Let's just directly jump in with the questions from the audience. First question, your perspective on the price for CO2 at the ETS. Where do we stand right now, and are prices going further up? Maybe you can shed some light on the perspectives of the price per ton of CO2 in Europe.
I mean, we've definitely seen a strong increase in EUA prices in the recent years. And with those increasing national and also EU goals regarding climate, they will definitely continue to rise. And I think one of the most important parts, which will definitely have a huge impact on prices for EUAs, is the upcoming CBAM. So I already explained it shortly. It's basically a mechanism by which imported goods from other countries will be priced according to EUA prices. And this will be phased in the coming years, and by this also the free allowances for EUAs will go down, and this will in general definitely further increase the prices for EUAs significantly.
Then thank you very much. There's a question directly related to the price of CO2 and the CBAM. To which extent, if an Indian company now is considering to export to Europe and will have to fulfill requirements by CBAM also, then CO2 counting has to be done anyways already. So if the CO2 accounting has to be done anyways, would that then be also a possibility to actually already have the data to participate in your certification scheme and make money out of the carbon credits?
I mean, as I said, we're definitely aiming for a harmonized, let's say, monitoring standard kind of. And also talking to different project developers, we heard that this is one of the biggest hurdles, that they don't know to which standards they have to apply, because in Germany or in Europe, they're still quite transitional. I mean, we have now some certain rules on that. I mean, it's definitely true that if you, for example, register for CBAM, you have to have a monitoring concept in place. And this monitoring concept can, at least parts, also be used for let's say, voluntary carbon markets, for example. But in the end, I don't think that we or the EU and the voluntary voluntary standard setters, for example, will reach such a high degree of harmonization that you could, for example, use the same documents in order to register your programs at the CBAM or at the voluntary carbon market or at the Article 6.4 of the Paris Agreement. So I think there's just too many different motivations and interests involved to get this done. But also, I think it definitely helps to have, like, let's say, one monitoring or one scheme in place where you already did pretty much the same thing, which you will have to do for different segments of the carbon market, but the documents will be different. Pretty sure. I can't promise that, but that's my personal take on that.
Okay, so documents will be different, price will be different. You already mentioned the voluntary carbon market. I think we could see it. Your calculation for the voluntary carbon market was based out of a price of between, I think, $10 to $30 per ton CO2. Is that correct?
Exactly. And the EUA prices are even currently 3 times higher than the highest price expected for green hydrogen certificates. So yeah, the thing is, and that's maybe also important if you look at the different carbon market segments, that you have to look which carbon market segments are in place in which countries. So, for example, using imported hydrogen in the EU doesn't make sense to certify this project with voluntary carbon market standards, because in the end you would get less money for your carbon credits than you would get if you use them inside of the EU ETS or, like, regardless the CBAM.
There is a question related to it. If you could shed some light on the voluntary carbon market prices compared to the EU ETS. So now you're saying it's factor 4, or
I know currently it's
any-
even more. Currently it's even
Mhm.
more. So it's rather factor 10, I would say, for average prices.
Mhm.
So yeah, if you have the chance to participate or to create additional revenue streams within the EU ETS, or then yeah, you shouldn't go for voluntary carbon markets.
Mhm. Is there any specific sources you could recommend, like web pages where our viewers can look these things up?
Let me think. I mean, definitely on our website, Perspectives Climate Group, there's a lot of information on carbon markets in general, and I think there's also a similar table which I showed regarding the current and expected prices of different carbon market segments.
Okay,
Out of my head, I can't give you any links, but if you want to, I can definitely find some for you.
wonderful. Maybe we can, since you agree to share the presentation, we can send also further links.
One thing which might be interesting, which just came to my mind, is definitely the Carbon Market Watch. This is a good address to find information on all of those topics.
Wonderful. Then there's a question from the audience in regard to green ammonia and green methanol. Are you specifically dedicating your methodology to green hydrogen only, or does it include ammonia and derivatives, maybe sustainable aviation fuels, etc.?
No, actually, it's already some time ago when we came up with the Hydrogen for Net Zero initiative, and the name stayed, I would say. But like, we are aware that especially internationally traded hydrogen will probably not be traded in the form of hydrogen. So except there are, let's say from the Middle East or from the MENA region, there are already pipelines in place, or new pipelines will be constructed, but this won't happen. I mean, new pipelines take a long time, so this won't happen before 2030. So we're definitely aware that at least my view, that most probably ammonia will be the main transport method for PTX products. And our methodologies, like we had this one step kind of in our presentation where we have processing in there, and we really want to focus on all the different processing steps to other PTX products. And also, like, looking at the H2 Global tender, they're not buying hydrogen, but they are buying other derivatives. So we're definitely aware of that, and I think that's one of the most important parts, which adds an additional step of complexity to the methodological framework. But it's very important because, especially, for example, ammonia cracking is very energy intensive, and you really have to monitor the emissions which are generated by ammonia cracking. So that's a huge part, and can have a big influence on the overall greenhouse gas emissions of the hydrogen supply chain, or the PTX supply chain. Sorry.
Yeah, so you already answered another question which was posted already on the ammonia cracking. So thank you very much. Maybe you can switch back to slide 8. There is a question on your calculations of the green versus gray hydrogen. So the question was actually where your price assumptions are based on. I thought that was
This slide?
IEA, right? But that was without the spike.
Exactly.
Yeah.
This is okay. Sorry, I didn't mention that. Yeah. So this is from the International Energy Agency of the Global Hydrogen Review from 2021, and it's true the gas spikes are not included in there. So, but like during the presentation I said in most regions it will be like that. But for example, if you look at gas prices currently, for example, in Germany, there are definitely applications where green hydrogen can already be economically competitive. For example, ammonia or fertilizer production. Sorry, I didn't adjust this graph, because for me it wasn't so much about the actual numbers, but rather to put it in perspective.
Correct.
Yeah,
Yes,
very
well understood.
Thanks for that.
Then there is a question, I don't know if I got it right, ITMO number, 24 to 33 euros. I don't know which slide that was. You mentioned the price of 24 to 36 euros per ton ITMO.
Yeah.
I don't know which slide that was.
Yeah.
Yeah, so maybe you can shed some more light on how this price is developing, what kind of market we are talking here about.
So this is currently expectations because there are no ITMOs traded currently. And to tell the truth, I'm not a certificate trader, so I'm not an expert in certificate prices. But I got those numbers from our expert group. I don't know what they are based on, to tell the truth.
Just another question because it came up on trading, but just in case you know. Yeah.
Maybe one more point to the last question. I forgot to mention the IEA published a new global hydrogen review from 2022, and they have a very interesting graph in there where you can see at what natural gas prices green hydrogen actually becomes competitive with blue or gray hydrogen production. So if the attendees are interested in that, it's a very good chapter in the global review and a very nice graph also.
Wonderful. We'll also share this with the participants. Just like one more question on trading, there was a question on if you are aware of international trading platforms for CO2 certificates. You have mentioned the markets, but who's trading those? Is it in Europe the EEX, or who's actually trading those certificates?
So as I said, I'm not an expert on that, but I have definitely some ideas. So what normally happens after carbon credits are issued, they are stored in a so-called standards registry. So they're stored in an official database kind of. And then brokers or also private person can actually access them and buy carbon certificates and retire them. But there are some exchange platforms like, for example, Carbon Trade Exchange or Expansive or the Air Carbon Exchange, which are just exchange platforms for different carbon certificates. And also there's currently a strong movement to use blockchain technologies for carbon credits in order to make them more easily accessible. And this process of translating kind of carbon credits to blockchain items, which would make them similar to cryptocurrency because like a unique blockchain item, I would say, this process is called tokenization. And those unique tokens can be sold via online platforms. And currently there's a huge discussion going on between blockchain companies who want to tokenize carbon certificates and the standard setters, because there are a lot of doubts regarding the integrity of those tokens and how you can see where they actually come from. Have they been retired? And recently there were even bans of tokenization by some standard setters. I think Gold Standard banned the tokenization of carbon certificates. I don't know if this still, as I said, I'm not an expert on that. But yeah, if you're interested in that, then you can just Google tokenization of carbon credits, and you will definitely find lots of articles on that.
Thank you very much, Mr. Fey. Then there's another question: to which extent you restrict yourself to hydrogen produced on an electrolyzer, or if you would also include, for example, hydrogen produced on the basis of biomass. At the end you're measuring the CO2, so it doesn't matter, you just come up with the CO2 savings, or you're saying no, this needs to be green in terms of what the EU is considering as green. So maybe you can shed some more light on this.
Yeah, maybe I'll just go to another slide here. So we even have it here on the slide. When you look in production, the third box is methane reformation, focus on biogas. So we are also definitely aiming for this process, and this can be like that. That's kind of the nice thing with carbon markets in general regarding hydrogen, no? Because normally most standards, they just set thresholds for carbon intensity of hydrogen. So you say, for example, in the EU, you have to be below 3.4 tons of CO2 per ton of hydrogen. In carbon markets, that's different. So the more carbon neutral or even carbon positive you are, the more money you can generate. So this always kind of opens a run to be as climate neutral or climate positive as possible, which I think is a very nice part. But that on the side, so gasification of biomass can even lead to negative carbon emissions, which would lead to additional revenue streams from hydrogen production based on bio. So this is, I think this is especially interesting for carbon markets, actually. Yeah.
Okay. Then, yeah, I don't see any more questions. Is there something which you would like to maybe share with us in general? You said there's a lot of steps still ahead, like defining even the framework, the methodology for the system itself can take up a lot of time. When is the new certification scheme being coming? How many companies are already involved? Big players, you have mentioned at least the market players, Verra, Gold Standard, South Pole, but is there also big private players involved? Do you see this thing upcoming? Are you really busy on a daily basis with this? Just maybe share some, shed some light on where do you see this initiative leading towards to, and maybe a little bit the timeline.
Okay, yeah, so we definitely have already some big industrial players on board, I would say. Those are the, how do you say that, like common suspects, I would say. It's about 6 companies up till now. And we are about to officially launch the initiative next month. And then we will start with like, first of all, you have to do, so it's a long process. I don't want to go into all the details, but since we are working with 2 standards, there's a lot of regulations. And first of all, you have to do like a principle document where you say what is eligible for carbon credit generation. So for example, a big issue will be, is blue hydrogen methodology to produce low carbon hydrogen, for example. These are steps we have to take. But I think really when we will start with the methodology development mid this year, so like Q3, I would say. And then we foresee that the math development for the, sorry, I'm always saying methodology development, it's like an internal abbreviation, will take approximately for the first use cases about 9 months to 12 months for Gold Standard and Verra at the same time. So this is like the foreseen timeline, but this will be a continuing process because it depends very much on the companies who are joining us and on the specific use cases they have. So until we will have covered a huge part or a lot of those boxes you can see here on the slide, this will definitely take a long time. We think until now the initiative will at least run until 2025, 2026, where we also plan then when the complete rule set for Article 6.4 is in place, we can then start or kind of transfer the methodologies from Gold Standard and Verra to the Paris Agreement Article 6. So we foresee that this process will be a little bit faster because we will hopefully already have covered the most important crunch issues.
So the first money and revenue stream for green hydrogen certificates under your scheme are expected by when earliest?
Earliest end 2023, but please don't pin me down on this number or in this date.
So you're really saying that by 2023, maybe 2024?
I'm sorry, 2024. Yeah.
So by you're really saying by 2024, I can start earning money out of your scheme?
Yeah.
Fantastic. And then we are talking about something like $20 to $30 maybe per ton of CO2, yeah?
That's the expectation, exactly. And as I said, wow, this could bring down or like give positive opportunity cost to hydrogen producers in the range of up to 30 cents per kilogram of hydrogen, which is in the moment with current green hydrogen prices like 10%, and I think this is significant.
Do you already have an own website for this market? Maybe you can go 2-3 slides forward where you showed the way forward.
You mean?
Oh, yeah, no, then it was one more back.
So there is a website. There is a website on the Hydrogen for Net Zero initiative, and I can also definitely share the link with all of you.
Yeah.
And there's also another webinar online on this website where you can get even some more insights. Especially there are some parts of the presentation where from Verra and Gold Standard are kind of explaining their take on the initiative. So this could also be very interesting for all participants who are interested in carbon markets.
So for my team in the background, maybe we can even post the link in the chat right now, so that everyone in this webinar can just take it on.
So you just have to type hydrogen for net zero.
Okay, cool.
.com. That's it.
Wonderful. Okay, so it's southpole.com/hydrogen for net zero initiative. Wonderful.
Exactly.
Great. I think everyone interested in having an additional revenue stream out of CO2 certificates with up to a couple of $100,000 per year, maybe, shall have a look at it. Thank you very much, Mr. Fee. And yeah, I'd encourage each and everyone who was participating and is still in this call up to now to just get back to IGCC or write us an email under hydrogen@energyforum.in. If you have further questions, just send us your email and you'll receive the presentation and further links for further information on carbon markets pricing and the initiative of Hydrogen for Net Zero initiative. Thank you very much.
Thank you all very much. Thank you, Tobias, and all organizers. Very nice.
Thank you very much. See you soon.
Take care, everybody.
Thank you, Pooja.
Bye.
Thank you. Have a great day ahead.
Bye.